Hey everyone, Fez here from CryptoSetups. I'm excited to take you through this protocol that's called Radiant Capital. Now, Radiant Capital is a money market that is on Arbitrum. Arbitrum is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. As always, these videos are not financial advice. It is strictly for educational purposes only. Okay, so what makes Radiant Capital so unique? Now, first of all, because it's on a layer 2, it's just an absolute pleasure to use. Fees are next to nothing and everything's super fast. The other aspect that makes Radiant Capital so unique is it allows you to supply money, USDT, Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, and earn interest. And at the same time, if you want to borrow against your capital, you can borrow stablecoins as USDT, USDC, and have them issued on another chain, not just on Arbitrum. So essentially you could borrow on Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, Ethereum, and so on. Now, it does this by using layer 0 tech, and it's integrated into Stargate. So if you weren't familiar with the protocol Stargate, I encourage you to check it out. But what Radiant Capital does is integrate it into its dApp. So from a user perspective, you're able to facilitate these cross-chain transfers seamlessly. The protocol has its own token, RDNT. This token is implemented in a very unique way. So you can, at the moment, stake it, and when you stake it, you earn all protocol fees, 50% of the fees, and they get paid out in the native token, which is RDNT, but also in stables, ETH, and BTC. So that's pretty cool and unique, and you can slowly build a stash by just staking the token. As more users come and use the protocol, you earn a portion of the fee. The RDNT token is distributed in unique ways. Now, I will, in the tutorial, take you through how this works, how the vesting works, and what are some of the options that you have to get the token instantly versus waiting the 28 days before you can claim it. So let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so here we are, Radiant Capital, and this is the landing page as soon as the dApp loads up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each of these tabs and how things work, because at the start I found a few things confusing, and especially when it got to the token itself, some of the mechanics of it took me a few goes to get used to. So hopefully this will really clear all that up if it's your first time using the dApp. So I'm going to assume in these cases you know what a money market is and generally know how to, sign transactions and things like that. So here we are. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to connect my wallet, and you can see the only network currently supported is Arbitrum, but this will change when V2 comes out, and based on what they're saying is a few more networks are going to be supported, but I'll get into that in a moment. So cool. So here we are, and the first screen is the actual markets itself. So here you can see there's a bit of information being thrown at you. This is kind of all the fees that are being paid to the RDNT stakers. Now the RDNT stakers, as I called out in the quick overview, is you get at the moment 63% APR. Off that APR, 34 of it is in the native token, and then you can see the others are in USDC, DAI, USDT, ETH, and BTC. And what's really cool about it is when you earn these fees, and after a few days when they're paid to you, you can claim them. And when you claim them, all these tokens, USDC, ETH, and Bitcoin, end up being put into the money market, into the supply side, where you keep earning interest on it. So that's pretty cool. You can see over here the money markets that are supported are the 3 stables and ETH and BTC. So what are you looking at here? This is the market size of each of the assets, how much money's on the platform and how much has been borrowed. And here with the APRs, you can see kind of what your deposit APRs are, and on top of it, how much more you're earning in the RDNT token. And you get it on both sides. So obviously there are people who are supplying and then borrowing and putting it back into the supply side to try and mine as much of the token as possible. And that's fine. That's the name of the game. So you can see over here the total size, how much fees are being paid, And this is a locked API, which I just spoke about. And this is pool 2 is essentially, if you want, you can supply liquidity. I'm not going to cover that portion in this tutorial, but you can essentially pair RDNT with ETH and put it in SushiSwap and then stake the LP, and you'll earn an additional 133% paid out in the RDNT token. Now, keep in mind there's impermanent loss and things like that that come with supplying liquidity in the pool. But if you are wanting to earn a lot, and this is a long-term investment for you, not financial advice, that's something for you to look at if you wanted to earn a decent stash of RDNT. So that's the quick overview about the markets page. Let's go to dashboard. So you can see I have connected my wallet and I have not deposited anything. So if I wanted to, I can click on deposit, and the second I do that, it shows me what assets I can deposit and earn interest on, right? So at the moment I have 10 DAI and a bit of ETH. Depositing is as simple as clicking and adding. If you are adding ETH, make sure you leave a little bit in your wallet for fees and things like that. But in fact, let's add some ETH. I'm going to add 0.5 ETH, and I'll hit continue. And we can just enjoy the speed of layer 2. So obviously there'll be a deposit signing and done. Yep. Now, this is important as well. So as you know, with all the money markets, when you put something, you get a token back. In this case, you can add it RETH. So any of the tokens you add to the money market, USDT, BTC, you'll get an R version of it back into your wallet. That is just to say that you have deposited the ETH in there, and this is kind of your claim back token. That's how it works. So don't worry about that. That's what the RETH is for. Now you can see if I go to dashboard, now it's giving a bit of a summary of my total deposits, and I've deposited 0.50 ETH. So depositing works the same way as every other protocol. Now, the other aspect, which I thought was cool. Now, we know in money markets, generally people, especially when there is an additional token to be earned for supplying and borrowing, people will go and loop, as I mentioned earlier. So in this case, the protocol has just built that into it to enable people to loop in one click. So if you were doing this, a few things to note. If you say you're going to do it with, I've got some DAI, I'm going to show you how to loop with DAI. I just put some 10 DAI. But some things to note, if you already have DAI in the money market at the moment deposited, you won't be able to use the loop function, or it's best to remove that asset, and you can only loop currently stable coins. Just remove it from the money market and use the loop function from the start. That's probably the best, that is the best way to do it. Okay, so let's check out the loop function, where it allows you to loop the stable coins where you supply, and then it'll borrow and add it to the supply and do that up to 5 times, which is pretty cool that you don't have to keep manually doing it. So I'm going to take the stable coin DAI, and I've got 10. What I'm going to do over here is I'm actually going to add 8. If you're using the looping function, if you have, say, $1,000, don't use all 1,000. Leave a little bit, because while it's a one-click loop, to unloop it, you'll need to pay back some of the borrowed and then manually unloop it. So just be a bit cautious there. So I'm going to put an 8 over here, and as you can see, what it's doing with my 8 DAI is it is borrowing up to 4 times, and based on that, it will supply, where's this, 80, it will supply total collateral, take that and loop it around and supply $62 worth, and which is a loan to value of 80% and utilization rate of 75. So I got a bit of buffer there, and it is a stable coin. So again, the worst case scenario is if DAI depegs very heavily, then I could be at risk of getting liquidated. So there's something you need to weigh up your risks with. But again, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how quickly this works. So you start looping. Click one. Now, in this particular, it's done. If this is the first time you're using it, you may have two or three clicks before this gets done, but just follow the process and it'll get done. And as you can see over here, it is, you can see that it's taken my did I supply $8 or $9, and it's looped it 4 times, where you can see I borrowed this much and I've got this much in the deposit side of things. So and now essentially the whole process is to mine the RDNT token, and that's what looping does. So hopefully that's made sense. As called out before, if you want to unloop it, then you kind of now got to go and repay. That's why I said keep a little bit of a buffer so that you can repay. Or if, like me, you can see my health factor, what you want to avoid is you want to keep it above 1. I've got a solid health factor because I have deposited some ETH just before. So it's altogether your health factor, your collateral is determined of everything you've supplied. The looping of stable coins is good because you know that ratio won't change as long as the peg stays. And in this case, I could quite comfortably withdraw my deposits and repay my entire borrowing without any risk of liquidation. But if you've literally borrowed it right to the edge, you need to be careful of this. Cool. So that's looping, that's done. I've covered deposits. Now, borrows. So this is where now, for example, I've got a great ratio, as you saw, health factor, because I deposited some ETH. Now, if I still wanted to maximize on the RDNT token, I could borrow. But you can start to see here, like once I started borrowing ETH, the health factor is coming down. And I mean, I wouldn't, this is super risky to me. So I would personally have a very high health factor, but it tells you where you're at, and you want to make sure. Now, once you're using ETH and BTC, these are volatile assets and will fluctuate based on price. You want to be careful here. So I just wanted to give you an example. So with ETH over here, I can borrow based on what I've supplied, but this is what's the other cool aspect about the protocol is now if I wanted to borrow, say, USDT, you can see all of a sudden I'm given options. So I don't necessarily need to just borrow it. Like if I wasn't interested in looping or anything like that, I actually wanted to supply some ETH on here and get some money on Binance Smart Chain. I could supply the ETH and then go to the borrow aspect and pick Binance Smart Chain and say, yep, I want $30. And when I hit continue, I won't follow through with this, but essentially what it will do is now send the $30 to my Binance Smart Chain address. And I can just switch networks and go to Binance Smart Chain and then use that money for whatever I need. No, you can't go into Binance Smart Chain at the moment and supply that money back to Radiant. No, you would need, at the moment, the supply component is only available on Arbitrum. But V2, there are talks of all this functionality being enabled. But for the moment, you can borrow money on and have it delivered on your address on another chain that's supported in that list, which is pretty cool. And this is where the layer 0 tech's being used, and Stargate Finance, that bridge, Stargate bridge is what's being used in the background. Cool. Now let's head on over to the next tab as we keep going through. Now this is the one that I found on my first take a little bit confusing. So I'm just gonna talk through how this works. So you can see everything's kind of super transparent, that these are the fees that get distributed. How do you earn a portion of these fees is by locking RDNT token. So what I'm gonna do here is I've actually got 100, and I'm gonna, when you lock it, it gets locked for 28 days. While it's locked, you earn all the fees of the protocol. After the 28 days, you can just keep it like that, staked essentially, and you still keep earning all the fees and everything, and you can then, unstake it instantly. But that first time you lock it, you have to run through that 28 days. And then as you get more tokens, and say you lock it 5 days later, you go and lock the next batch of tokens you get, that will have its own 28 days. So something to remember. So I'm gonna lock this. Great. So now you can see, as soon as I've locked it, it tells me how much is locked. and I'm going to talk about the vesting in a moment. This is the platform fees. This is how much I'll earn. I've barely locked anything, so obviously I'm not going to earn much. But that is that component. Now, the other aspect is I'm going to go revenue. So as you can see, I've already started earning some fees. Barely any time has passed. So in this section, and I will show you just after I've explained all of this, I'll quickly show you a wallet that has a little bit more locked and how all that looks so that you can get used to it. But quickly, these are all the fees. Now, this is what I said earlier, where in this instance, if you claim all, what will happen is all these will get put into the lending supply side of the money market. So you can then go and withdraw it. Or if you do it week by week, straight away you claim it. And then all of a sudden you got DAI, USDC, USDT, ETH, and BTC earning interest and helping your health ratio. So that's pretty cool. And you can then also, whatever RDNT you earn here, you can stake and lock up for 28 days so that it starts earning you fees or sell or whatever your interest is. Now, you're probably looking at this vesting and going, okay, what is that? So in this tab, you will earn as well as part of staking and locking your RDNT. You're earning, see, it's telling you earning from lending, borrowing, staking. Okay, so here's another wallet, and I'm going to zone in on the vesting. So you can see at the moment I have 447 RDNT tokens ready to vest. To be clear, currently these tokens here, the 447, are not earning me any protocol fees or anything. They're just there ready for me to claim. Now, I can claim it in two ways. One is one-click vest and lock. I'll come back to this. Or start vesting. So if I click this to start vesting, this will go through a 28-day period of vesting before I can claim it. During this time, I do earn all the protocol fees. There's one aspect that I don't earn. So when I click on currently vesting, you can see that I currently have 295 that will unlock on the 24th. And you can see over here, this is completely separate of what I've locked to earn the fees, etc. So now, the next button you have available, just coming back to ready to vest, is one-click vest plus lock. Now, what happens here is it will vest it instantly. You don't have to wait the 28 days. However, you will be penalized 50% off your stack. So if I did this right now, I would lose 50% off this, but straight away, the other 50% would be available and it would get locked over here. Now, why? Why would I do that? So in this case, while I may lose 50%, I instantly have the other 50% locked, earning fees off the protocol and the 50% penalty that I pay. So any user who does that, if you've got RDNT locked in this section, that 50% penalty goes to the locked RDNT on the protocol. So I hope that's made sense. It took me a couple of moments and reading the articles and things like that to make sure I got it right. But that is the one-click vest lock option. And so some people may early on, or for whatever reason, want to access the RDNT and straight away lock it. And based on this, you'll notice weekly, sometimes if people have kind of used the one-click vest option and been paid the 50% penalty, the APR suddenly jumps for all the lockers because in that week, a lot of people have lost 50% of their stack, which is getting paid out to the locked RDNT users. So I'm one of those. So make sure if you want to pay the fee, then you click the one-click vest and lock. However, if you don't, then you would just go start vesting. Now, even when you are vesting, as you can see over here, I've got 295. Through the process, I could exit early and pay the fee and it shows me. But in my case, I don't want to, so I'm not going to do that. And finally, after those 28 days, you would see that you have two options where you don't pay a penalty. You can either lock it where it gets locked over here, or you can withdraw. And sell or do whatever you want. So I hope this part has made sense. So definitely remember, ready to vest, start vesting, wait the 28 days. While it's vesting, you can exit early if you choose, or if you know you want to take that penalty hit and claim whatever you've earned, half of it, then click vest lock and straight away it's done. So that's the vesting section. Now make sure, as you know, it does not apply for your revenue, your platform revenue. And I'll give you an example over here. I don't have any RDNT token. Everything is locked. I'm going to claim this $28 worth, which majority of it is an RDNT, but I've got a little bit of everything else. So I'll click claim all, instantly done. And yeah, just needed to wait a little bit while. And you can see right away, I've got that 415. So now in this instance, see, why would you be claiming? Because I had all this stack in here. While it's here, it's also not earning. The RDNT token is rewarded to you, but in this mode, it's not earning you any fees or anything like that. So depending on what your goals are, again, it's claiming it to, if you want to earn fees off it, then to come here and lock it. So in this case, I'm going to lock it. So if I go max lock, and hit lock. Yeah. So the reason why it didn't give a new section, so the way the unlocks work is by block times, and so if you fall within the same time, it will just default it to one of your current expiry dates, unless you then fall into the new section. So don't panic if it hasn't created. If anything, all it means is you're caught in the same time frame, and that's that. So cool. I think I've gone through this section thoroughly. This is kind of the biggest part of the RDNT and the complicated part, because you don't want to lose on, you don't want to pay the penalty if that's not what you were intending to do. So hopefully I have explained that well enough. Great. Now back to my other wallet, the CryptoSetups tutorial wallet, and not my degen, how I explore the wallets, the protocols wallet. So over here, the final few tabs, just keeping in line with what I've been taking you through, is, so this is where now, if you wanted to supply, and I'm not going to show this, but essentially it's got everything there. You just click on add liquidity, it'll take you to SushiSwap. There we go. So you add ETH, it's only paired at ETH. You add the liquidity here. Once it's done, you come back here straight away. It will pick up that you have an LP and you stake it. Now, if you were doing this, you need to come back here and stake it. Otherwise, you will not get your 133.95% APR rewards, and that's paid out in RDNT. And you can see over here similar, so it will, when it's paid out at any point, you can hit start vesting, and when you do that, you will see it will be currently vesting, and if you want to claim it and pay the 50% penalty, you can exit early or vice versa. But that's how it connects the stake. Now if you click on this, it'll load SushiSwap for you to buy the token. And then there's a DAO section where you can go and look at governance and vote and things like that. And the more is the docs section. So, as always, I hope you found the tutorial useful. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if there is anything I haven't covered, let me know. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.